Hello, today I'll be sculpting a ceramic charm bracelet for my friend's bridal shower. Each of these charms tells a story about her life, and I will tell you a little bit more about those in the end of the video. But first, I want to show you how I made them from start to finish, and hopefully that will work as inspiration for some of you to make your own charm bracelet. I usually make pretty decently sized sculptures, so this is very, very different for me. One thing that I noticed pretty quickly, and which I recommend for all of you if you're trying to make small ceramic charms and ornament, is to choose a clay that is smooth. In this case, I use Laguna Clay's B Mix. I notice when it gets a little bit groggier or sandier, the small details tend to kind of flake off or just become a little bit ragged. So definitely recommend some sort of smooth clay to begin with. I also noticed in general that it was pretty difficult to make a lot of small details, and I rely so heavily on texture in my usual work, and I wanted to bring this into these small pieces as well, but I realized pretty quickly that I had to decide on a focal point. I also noticed that it helped me a lot to sculpt small, to think about the glazing while I was sculpting. Usually I will add a sort of glaze after I'm done with the sculpture, and it becomes a little bit of an afterthought, but because they were so small and I knew I didn't have a lot of room for the bigger details, that I had to sort of think about how will the little lines and the little crevices be affected by the glaze, and think about that while I was sculpting, which was really good for me because that's something I want to bring in generally to my practice. For example, with this black dog, I decided right away I want to make it black with underglaze, clear glaze, and then add some gold to it. And I just think it's so amazing. Like every time you do something, you never know before you start a project what you're gonna get out of it, but you always learn something. And I definitely learned something in this project as well. I was on a very tight deadline with this project, and for that reason I had to single fire all the charms. Usually with ceramics you will fire them one time first, a so-called bisque fire, and this will make sure all the moisture leaves them, and then you add the glaze. Most people do not recommend that you add the glaze right away, and I will probably say you shouldn't do that either. But I didn't want to buy my friend something. Like it's not that I didn't want to buy her something, but I wanted to make her something that was special. So I decided, okay, I'm just gonna go for it. And if everything fails, I'll just go out and emergency buy something in the store. Usually it will come down to very poor planning for me, but I do feel like I had a valid reason this time. I was so busy in grad school. End of February, I had a course ending, and I took a few weeks off sculpting in general, which I hate doing because it's such a big outlet for me. But I really had to do it because the course was so difficult. Anyway, so because of that, I had to do a single fire. I was actually pretty lucky because Anthony, that owns the studio that I am a member of, was actually planning to have a raku fire that week, which meant that I could do a couple of raku charms and a couple of regular fired charms to do luster and add those sort of ornamental features to it. This way I was also able to hedge my bets, so to speak. So if one of them didn't work out, then hopefully the regular fire would work out. Or if the raku or the regular fire ear didn't work out, then I had the raku, or that was the thinking at least. I also had another thought with the raku, and please don't make fun of me for this, but I love gemstones and sparkles, and a while back I bought a bunch of precious stones, or quote-unquote precious stones, off the internet. They didn't have any certification, and I don't feel like the price matched probably what they should be costing, but I was hoping in my delusion that these were real stones. And when they did come to me, they were very, very pretty, but I never really got an opportunity to use them, and they got stuck in the bottom of a drawer. And then when I got this idea to the charms, I was like, okay, I gotta try it now. They wouldn't be able to be fired in the regular kiln just because the temperatures goes up a lot higher than we do in raku, and also for a more extended period of time. So at that point I felt like they are most likely gonna melt or crack or do something like that. But I was hoping that if the stones were real, then I could at least try to fire them with raku and see if it worked. I decided to make this fish my little experiment and add the stone as an eye. And honestly, I don't know which stone it is because I had it written up, but then I kind of just bundled them together and forgot what is what. I was doing a lot of research and curiously, I could not find anything about people firing stones into raku, which feels like such an obvious and fun thing for me. But I don't know if you've ever heard anything about that or seen anyone do it. I would love to hear more about it, but this might be the first time. I don't think it's the first time, but this might be the first time on the internet. So we'll see how it goes. I was so excited and I really felt like, okay, if this work, this fish is gonna be, it's gonna be the magnus opus of this charm bracelet. And here you can see me pulling it out of the fire. And at this point I was really looking at the eye, but I don't know if there was some like ash on top of it or if it was a glowing effect or whatever, but it just looked like a big blob. So I was like, okay, it messed up, it didn't work. And then we put it in this trash can and you have to wait 30 minutes. But then when I pulled it up, it was actually intact and it was really, really good. The edges around the eye was a little bit rough, and after having done this once, I already have ideas on how to make this better. Just imagine if I could get, I don't know if I will ever have this in my budget, but imagine if you could get big ass crystals and just put them in a big sculpture and just have crystals fired into them in a raku. Like, how amazing would that be? I'm very excited. I see a lot of potential. We will take a closer look at all the raku charms in the end of the video, but for now, let's return to the regular fired charms. And my biggest concern with them were whether the glaze would be well in a single fire or not. I use this glaze from Amico, which is my go-to transparent glossy glaze for low fire. However, according to instructions, and you should always follow instructions, always a good plan, this one you shouldn't apply unless it's been bisque fired, or you should apply them to a bisque fire cone 04. Obviously this time we were jumping straight to the single fire, so I didn't know if my go-to glaze were gonna be dependable or not in this situation, and I didn't really have hopes. I had a lot of hope, but okay, let's say this. I had a lot of hope, but hope was about the only thing that I had. Thankfully, you see them here glazed and it worked so well and I was so relieved. And if you want to get this glaze, I put a link to my Amazon shop below. For full disclosure, of course, this is an affiliate link, but I don't have a lot of viewers on YouTube, and like I think 1 month I made $1.50, and that was the most I've ever made from an affiliate link. So this really is just because I want to make it easy for you to find what I use. And I love this glaze. It's cone 05. No other low fire glaze really compares to it, and I don't know why it's so difficult with glossy transparent low fire, but this one is so, so good. Because the glaze worked so well, I only had one single step left, and that was to luster fire them. Lusters are usually fired at a significantly lower heat than regular ceramics and often contain real metals like gold, silver, and copper, which are typically added to create some sort of accent on a piece. For example, I remember my great-grandmother having this massive collection of porcelain figures and plates with gold accents all over in her house. And I don't know, I feel like the way her home etched itself into my mind definitely influenced my love for ceramics and delicate sculptures and shiny things in general. I also felt like it was like suiting to have some real gold and silver in there because, you know, this is a bridal shower and she's a bride-to-be. So I wanted it to be a little bit fancier than I would usually make it. Anthony, being a sweetheart, told me I could try a bunch of his lusters, and I eventually decided to go for silver gray, platinum, gold, and straw yellow, as well as Mardi Gras. I didn't even know what color Mardi Gras was, but I expected it to be colorful, and I decided to just go for it. After I had applied the lusters and popped the charms back in the kiln, I went home and returned early next morning, which was the day of the bridal shower, so I was really cutting it close. And I was all over the place on the way there because I was really nervous and worried that they weren't going to work. And at that point, I didn't really have a backup plan. I didn't have time. And I almost hit a rooster on my way there. But I did make it in one piece. And so did my rooster friend. They're back in the garden, by the way. Once I got to the studio, I just rushed to see my charms, and here they are! Oh my god, okay, I have a lot to say about this, and this looks really, really good. And I will take a closer look at them in a second. But before that, I just want to have a moment of silence for the charms that didn't make it. So excited about these charms. I think they turned out so cute, especially for a first try. So let's talk a little bit about what they mean. She has 2 cats. She also has a dog. It was very important for me to use the nice metals, the platinum, the gray, the silver gray, sorry, and the gold for the pets, because pets are so precious. I think we all know that they are the most precious. Unfortunately, I had an issue with the gold. You can see here, if you look closely, it looks sort of yellow and it just have a little bit of gold spots on it. This should be pure gold all over. I still kind of think it looks cool, and I really didn't want to leave it out of the bracelet because it felt like such an important and pivotal piece to have there. So I did put it into the final bracelet. However, next time I do a luster fire, I will ask my friend if she wants me to bring that one back. So hopefully you can get more gold. And if I do, I will let you know and I will show you. Usually putting them on a hold or something like that will help the metals get liquidized better. Mushroom is for her future in the forest. The fish was actually intended to be a Pisces symbol, but she's also known to make really good fish jokes. That was what she thought it was a symbol of, so I just rolled with it. Like, fish. I know that Pisces are probably supposed to be 2 fish, but I ended up just having time to make 1. So we had a single fish going here. The prickly pear is a replacement for the busted Joshua tree, and it represents her present here in the desert. The meeples are for our love of board games and the time we spend playing them. The red round thing represents her champion Wraith and her mean disc golf drive, which is really impressive. And I will say, even though the bracelet had a lot of casualties, as you saw before, this amount of charms actually turned out to fit perfectly on the bracelet. So I guess it was meant to be. Overall, I really love how this turned out. It's definitely a gift idea that I loved making, and I can see myself continuing to making these as gifts for my friends. And yeah, that was it. I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it, and please let me know in the comments what personalized charms you would include if you were or are going to be making a bracelet for yourself or for your friend. Bye!
If you think this video was rad,
Don't forget to like and comment
and subscribe.
Good, I think that was good.